Life Before and After the Experience of War, the biography of my grandfather, a Vietnam Navy SEAL, Mike Thomas. For this video, I interviewed his wife and my grandmother, Elenor Thomas. I began by asking her to describe his early life as well as hers.
He was shipped back and forth between his mom and his grandmother, who lived in Santa Cruz. She was pretty strict, but he had his brother John, and they got to spend a lot of time down at the Monterey Wharf fishing and talking with old fishermen and stuff like that. So I thought it was kind of a fun life. When he was about, I think, 8 or 9 years old, they took him from Santa Cruz up to Tahoe.
Where did he go to high school?
Truckee High School.
Where did you go to high school?
In Antioch, California.
How was that?
You know, I was a pretty shy kid, so I only really had one true friend. So I was pretty eager to get out of high school.
Did you end up going to college?
I ended up going into the Army because my parents couldn't afford college, and I wanted to be an X-ray technician. So I went into the Army, and because the Army is the way it is, I had to go into a different field, which was a radio teletype operator. And then I was sent to Germany.
After high school, he decided to follow his brothers and join the Navy. My grandmother described his experience as a Navy SEAL during Vietnam.
All of his tours, he had 3 different tours, so each tour was 2 years. He spent 6 years in Vietnam. He was a team leader, and I think he had said there were 6 members or 7 members to a team. They spent a lot of time in the jungle. Papa was, like I said, a team leader, and he would tell me that he would always be in the jungle barefooted because he could feel booby traps, and he could be more silent barefooted. And he carried his shoes or boots with him. But he loved the jungle. They encountered lots of snakes. And one time there was a tiger prowling after him.
He got chased by a tiger.
The whole team was being hunted by a tiger. So, and Papa would tell me that they would spend hours just sitting by a tree motionless, waiting for the enemy to come by. Most of his stories came from when he was on leave, like the elephant story going into a bar. Their commanding officers would get him out of trouble a lot because it was needed.
I followed up by asking if the controversy about the Vietnam War affected him, and she said,
They were told never to travel in their uniforms, and I think several times people spit at him, and sometimes when he would visit Genoa, some of the students, they'd get into heated debates about the Vietnam War.
Then I asked her what my grandfather did after serving and as well as what she did. She responded by saying,
a lot of research. He worked as a docent at the Automobile Museum. And then he started training docents at the Automobile Museum. And from there, he an astronomical observer at the observatory in Carson City at the college. And he became a mentor a lot. Then he started giving lectures at the observatory and a lot of the senior homes in Reno and Carson City. He would always wear a flag on his lapel when he gave lectures and stuff, and people would ask him different things, and he was always willing to tell and talk about things that he could. Of course, as a Navy SEAL, there are a lot of things they can't talk about because some of their missions are secretive. But if he could talk about it, he would. After I served, I wanted to become an X-ray tech. So I went to the Medical College of Georgia, got my degree, and I worked at a hospital there. I had Barbara. Then I moved to Reno and I worked at Washoe Med, which is now renowned. I worked there for 21 years and then retired. But while I was working at Renown, that's when I met Papa.
After serving, my grandfather suffered from severe PTSD, and as my grandmother says,
he did suffer greatly after Vietnam, after he was injured or shot 3 times and had to recuperate after each time. The soldiers that came back suffered a lot of PTSD. He would startle very easy. You never wanted to startle him awake if he was asleep.
Then I asked how the Cold War affected her life, positively and or negatively.
I was always afraid that something was going to happen, being threatened by, the communists and stuff. That was always something that bothered me growing up. Then I had cousins over in Vietnam too, and one of them didn't make it back. So things like that, as a child growing up, it bothered some children. I think it affected me to strive to be more understanding of other people and being sympathetic to everybody's right to their freedom and their right to do what they want to do and to strive for their freedom. It made me feel very thankful for being in this country.
Overall, the man I knew was a very kind-hearted, smart, funny, loving, and loyal person, and an amazing grandfather.
I was very proud to be married to him. He was a special man.
It seems a long time since the LSTs first moved the brigade up to Quignon as they headed for their first combat around Ankei.